Hello and welcome to StayNTouch's Best Practices, How to Build the Perfect Tech Stack for Your Hotel. I am your host, Justin DeRisi, the customer marketer here at StayNTouch, and I am joined with Ryan King, who is the Director of Strategic Partnerships also at StayNTouch. So we will be splitting up the presentation between us. We do have a long presentation today, but we will be trying to take some questions towards the end. If you do have any questions, just put them in the questions drop-down menu, which is in the middle of your control panel, and then we will take them in the order that we receive them towards the end. So looking at the webinar agenda, we're first going to go into why do you actually need to think about tech investment. And we're going to go over some common objections and sticking points to investing in different types of integrations. Then we're going to go into a survey of the hospitality tech landscape. So we're going to look at all of the different types of integrations you have. We're going to look at them from a functional perspective and then also from the perspective of your guest journey. Then we're going to look at your tech stack best practices, and this is where Ryan's going to take over. We're also going to take a look at different types of hotels and what their unique business needs happen to be and how can different technology solutions fulfill those needs. Finally, we're going to have a slide on some future tech to watch out for. Some things that are coming down the pike that might be beneficial to everyone. Why do you need to think about tech investment? So hotels historically have been pretty slow to adopt new technology. And there's a number of different reasons for this. Hoteliers typically have a bias towards or against tech investment. They would rather learn from others' mistakes or successes than be an early adopter. They focus on different operational issues rather than the sort of the promise that a new technology would give them as a whole. So one example would be key cards in the early 1990s. When they first came out, it was like a space age technology. However, they also had a problem with demagnetization, and that caused a lot of headaches. There is the fact that by the time you implement a new piece of technology, the next new thing might be just around the corner, which can put a dent in your investment. And then they're worried about the actual impact of gimmicky technology. We actually have a slide of a hotel in Japan that was totally run by robots, which was interesting, but also had some problems. Hoteliers have a bias towards high-touch personal interaction. They rightly worry that new technology is going to sort of eliminate some of the high service aspects of the guest experience. This isn't true, however. Technology can actually enhance the guest experience and enhance staff's ability to provide great service. Individual career biases. So nobody remembers the person who bought the successful piece of technology, but everybody remembers the person who pushed for the failed piece of technology. There's financial issues. Budgets are tight, so we're looking at 3.5% to 4% of your total hotel budget. However, they are increasing slightly, so that's good. And then a lack of integrated data. It's really important, especially if you're going to purchase multiple pieces of technology, that they can talk to each other and that your data isn't siloed into different systems. Overall, you kind of have the attitude of, if it ain't broke, then why fix it? Well, the reason why you fix it is because guests are expecting a high-tech experience. This is from an article from BuzzFeed, and it describes, I think, a common experience where you walk into a hotel room and it's like a scene from the late 1990s. You have an alarm clock with an iPod adapter that's 3 models, too early. You have an antiquated TV, you have a paper room service menu, and of course a clunky landline phone. You're not doing your guests a favor if you force them to time warp into the 1990s every time they visit your hotel. Why should you be an early adopter? Because your guests are expecting it. Mobility has empowered guests to want more customization, more convenience, and more control over their guest journey. And they want their hotel to be as advanced and as tech savvy as they are. The hospitality industry in general is falling behind other industries that have adopted early technology, especially mobile technology. You look at airlines, they adopted self-service kiosks in the mid-2000s. Banks adopted self-service ATMs back in the 1980s. Also, by not embracing new integrations, your property is really missing out on additional revenue, additional opportunities to enhance your guest experience, and additional ways to make your hotel run better. There's a reason why these new technologies are coming out. You know, mobile check-in really is more convenient. You really can gain more revenue by personalized mobile messaging. You know, having a cloud-based PMS, for example, really can increase your back of the house efficiencies. How to handle common objections to tech. I'll actually let Ryan take this slide, but I might interject with some comments.
You know, I always thought of this in relationship to what I could get my owner to buy off on and what it is that I needed to prove to them. So in the hotel world, I always had to make a case for everything that I wanted to go above, especially when I was trying to increase my budget year over year above what my RevPAR index looked like. The best thing I can say is always think about the longer term benefits. The ownerships will want to know, how is this going to improve the investment of their money? Be prepared as you think about that to have a well thought out case on what this is going to do and what problems or challenges that this will help solve. As you provide an overview of how you decided on a particular vendor, show the depth of your research. Let them know that you went through your due diligence to do this so that they can understand from their perspective that you're not just picking one person and you randomly selected, that you went through a process and you got there. And really, it's always about tying back what the features and the benefits of the new technology are going to do for the hotel and how you're going to implement them. It's very important to ensure that you've got a tight case put together to sell why you want a new piece of technology.
We really could do a whole webinar just on this slide alone, you know, sort of translating the goals that you have into metrics that would really resonate with your owners and with your C-suite. But that is definitely important.
That's right.
Survey of the hospitality tech landscape. Now we're getting into the meat of things. So what I'm going to do in the next couple of slides is show you a map based on software functionality. And then in the next slide, I'll show you a map of the guest journey. And then the following slide, I'll sort of combine them just to get an overall map of sort of your integrations landscape. And then we'll kind of go into detail into each of these. So looking at this functionally, right, you can divide the myriad of different platforms into ones that focus on sales and revenue. So here you're dealing with rates, with booking, with your groups, with distribution. You're looking at platforms like your central reservation system, your channel managers, booking engines, revenue management, and then any kind of market analytics or business intelligence. With marketing, this is sort of related. This deals with your brand awareness and your customer engagement. Marketing really shines in the sort of pre-booking phase, but it really has implications throughout the entire guest journey. So here we're looking at your customer relationship management software, any type of digital marketing software, you know, email marketing, social media marketing, anything dealing with upselling, loyalty, rewards, or analytics, and of course, reputation management. Reputation management is key in branding yourself as a hotel that, you know, people want to visit. Guest-facing technology. So this occurs once a guest visits your hotel. Anything dealing with self check-in or checkout, guest messaging or concierge platforms, Housekeeping actually straddles the guest-facing tech and the operations categories. Anything dealing with in-room entertainment. We talked about the clunky old TVs from the 1990s. Hopefully you get something that's a bit more advanced, but the Internet of Things is something that's happening on the horizon. So sort of voice concierges, things like that. And then finally, we have operations and admin. So this is everything in the back of the house that allows your hotels to run. So inventory, payroll, facilities, IT, finance, and accounting. Everything is linked together by the property management system. And I have that in blue, sort of surrounding the other categories. I should have put it in the center, but quite frankly, I didn't have enough space. But the property management system really is the core system that interacts with all of these other integrations and pushes the key data from your key guest information out to these other solutions. So let's look at the guest journey. And I have this in a bit of a cycle, right? Because all of these pieces interact with each other. So pre-stay, right? This is before a guest actually books in your hotel. And there's actually a couple of subsections under here. So a guest is first going to dream about where they want to stay, right? So I'm thinking about where I want to take my next vacation, and I'm flipping around Instagram, looking at, you know, beautiful sunsets in Costa Rica or whatever. Once I've actually decided where I want to stay, then I'm going into the planning phases. So booking airlines, booking hotels, figuring out, you know, which hotels have the best reviews. Finally, once my research is done, then I actually book my stay and I can start traveling, I guess. Next, you go into the in-stay period. This is where hotels shine. This is where you really want to boost your guest engagement. Obviously, if your guests have a great stay, then in the post-stay, they're going to return as loyal customers, and they're even going to sing your praises on social media. They're going to become advocates. And that's really what you want, because if you can have a lot of positive reviews, a lot of customer testimonials, then the next customer that's dreaming about where they want to stay or planning their next vacation, they're going to be more likely to look at your hotel. So this map, it's a little hard to read. This actually comes from a report by Skift, and this combines the guest journey and the functional map into what looks like kind of a mess, but I mean, it's better than just looking at these things individually. So divides it between pre-stay, during stay, and post-stay, with the property management system sort of interacting with everything. In the pre-stay, you can see we look at things like your CRM, your CRS, your channel managers, booking engines. Going into the in-stay, we have merchandising and upselling, guest messaging. Post-stay, again, we have revenue management, reputation management, and then marketing analytics.
And you know, as we're talking about that, Justin,
sure,
it's important, I think, for hotels as we go through this to think about where do you set your priorities, and at your team levels, you need to decide where those priorities lie, because these different tech stacks kind of go together. So if you concentrate on one area, it's better to think about how do I go deep in this area rather than keep going wide, and you may not be able to effectively pull off what you're looking to do.
Right, and I mean, that's, you're gonna be going into that in a bit. Every hotel is different, and every hotel has sort of strengths and challenges that they need to address. And it's also important to know that these aren't sort of set in stone categories. There definitely is overlap, and different experts will have different opinions as to where these individual solutions lie.
Right,
but
it's just a good idea to think about as you build it. You know, are we going to concentrate this year on our pre-stay technologies, or do we really want to improve the guest experience in stay? And trying to think about that as you frame it out.
Pre-stay, if you want to improve your pre-stay tech, so then this is the section for you. So the phrase "be there and be useful" actually comes from Google, and they did a really great blog series on sort of marketing throughout the guest journey. And they're actually the ones who divided the pre-stay into dreaming, planning, and booking. And each of these stages kind of, you know, again, you're focusing on different aspects of the guest journey, and then also different different technology and different goals for the hotel. So in the dreaming stage, again, the traveler wants to be inspired. Many of these searches occur on mobile devices. Again, just remember someone's at their lunch or maybe riding in the subway and they want to be someplace else, and so they're flipping through Pinterest, flipping through Instagram, looking for their next vacation idea. For the hotel, you really want to provide content that's going to inspire your travelers. You really want to focus on your branding as a hotel. You might want to have a digital marketing suite, obviously is necessary, but also one that focuses on content management, especially visual content management. You really want to be there at that moment of inspiration so that the guest is inspired to go to your hotel. Once you go into planning, again, a lot of the planning is done on mobile. So people are going to flip over to TripAdvisor or other travel review sites to figure out which hotels, really are worth the money. They're also going to look into different rates, schedules. So, reputation management is really key here. You really want the people to, you want your hotel to be seen in a good light. You also want that relevant information to be very easy to find. If your website isn't mobile first, if it isn't designed for a mobile experience, you're going to be missing out on this stage. A lot of people are very worried that they're not going to get all the information if they search on their phone. So then they're going to have to switch to a desktop. And by the time they switch to a desktop, they might actually decide to go with one of your competitors. Again, in this section, you want to focus on reputation management and again, digital marketing suite. With booking, everything is about seamlessness. And again, mobility first is really key. Booking should be as streamlined as possible. One big challenge is how to capture user data once they switch between devices. So actually getting them to book direct on your website is a really key challenge. You do want to incentivize direct booking. So here you're looking at your booking engines, you're looking at CRSs and channel managers. So the big challenge for hotels in the pre-stay phase is, what do you do about OTAs? In some ways, OTAs are a necessary evil. You have to use them to get your occupancy up. At the same time, they take a big cut of the rates. OTAs have really focused on guest engagement in the pre-stay period. I feel like hotels are more focused on the guest experience once your guests arrive. OTAs are focused on marketing. Consequently, they have grown to really dominate the pre-stay phase. So in the last 6 years, OTAs have increased their market share by over 40%, mostly at the expense of direct bookings. The way you should look at this, and Ryan, this is your term, so maybe you should comment here as well, is look at OTAs almost like a billboard effect. You're not going to be able to outmarket the OTAs, but if you can get a compelling enough billboard on their site, you're going to drive more people to book direct, essentially.
Yeah, and this goes back to utilizing all those technology pieces to enhance, what you're doing, from your marketing stack to your reputations to your reviews to the image that you use and how you're exchanging things, and working in collaboration with the OTAs to make it feasible for you to get more people putting eyeballs on your own website. And then you have the opportunity to try to turn that person into a direct booker. Use the billboard effect that the OTAs have to try to get eyeballs on your own site.
And that's really the function of your digital marketing software platforms, and also your online reputation managers. The ORMs come into play in the post-stay as well. But again, this is that, I guess, circle of life, or the circle of the guest journey. The past performance predicts future performance. If you can get hotels, or if you can get guests singing your praises, more guests are likely to come. Digital marketing suite, everything from SEO technology. It's really important to optimize your search rankings. It seems like every year Google is, gobbling up a larger and larger share of the hotel market. So it's important to get your property seen on that first page of Google search results. Content management system. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I have a gorgeous picture of a sunset to the right there. Compelling images like that can really sell your property more than any type of well-written description. Multi-channel campaign applications, looking at email, looking at social media. You're not just going to market from one channel. You're going to really throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. In order to do that, you do need a multi-channel application so that you're not just drowning in posts. Internet booking engines. So this is obviously important during the booking phase. This allows your travelers to book a hotel, flight, or package. Again, it's really key that your booking engine is seamless, that it's user-friendly, that it's optimized for different devices. You're not just interacting with people on desktops like you might have 20 years ago. It also should be user-friendly and should be able to handle different languages, currencies, and payments. If I want, I know in my online shopping history, a lot of times I prefer to pay with PayPal, and if the site doesn't have a PayPal option, I might just go to one of their competitors that does. Don't force your guests to abandon their booking because of a slow or cumbersome booking engine. These things really have to be fast. Nobody wants to see that little wheel spinning ad infinitum. Things to look for in an IBE. You want it to be integrated with your hotel's website. Remember, you're trying to drive direct bookings. You want it to be cloud-based and mobile-friendly. Again, multiple languages and currencies. I can't stress that it should be seamless enough. Channel manager. So the channel manager and the CRS are kind of similar. The CRS, let's say, is the Cadillac version. The channel manager might be like a Toyota. So, if you can imagine that you're going to be offering bookings on a number of different channels. So you're going to have your hotel website, your IBE, number of OTAs, maybe social media platforms, maybe Google Maps. How do you manage all of these different platforms, and how do you do it efficiently? One option could be you hire someone whose only job is to manage these myriad of booking platforms, or you could buy a channel manager, which allows you to automatically manage all of these bookings across different platforms. It sends up-to-date rates and inventory to all of these different channels. The idea is to save you time and effort. And you can also boost your revenue because you can really maximize the number of channels that your hotel can be seen. Remember, you want as many billboards as you possibly can. It also allows you to discover which channels are underperforming or which channels are doing well. So there's sort of a revenue management component to this as well.
And I think it's important to note, Justin, as we
Sure.
talk about this, that sometimes, a hotel of a particular size in a certain area, a channel manager might be just fine for them. They may not need to go out and purchase a full-blown CRS. SiteMinder, as a shout out to them, their channel manager also has capabilities to add on an internet booking engine and a connection to the GDS. So if I had a 50-room hotel sitting out in a suburban location without a need for a lot of complexity, I would probably invest in this type of tech stack rather than go down the other road of the CRS, which you're going to talk about next.
Don't pay for a Ferrari if all you need is a Toyota to take you to the grocery store. Central reservation system. So this is a bit more of a robust version of a channel manager. This manages reservations and serves as the foundation for your internet booking engine. Stores lots of data relating to inventory, availability, rates, and special traveler requests. So this allows you to be to sort of drill down to the individual traveler and be a bit more customizable in your approach. It allows you to increase revenue by easily adjusting rates across multiple distribution channels, and can also enhance your guest satisfaction by reducing accidental overbookings. We actually just did a webinar on overbookings. Sometimes you deliberately want to overbook. You never want to overbook by mistake. That doesn't benefit anyone. Ryan, maybe you can go into a little bit about the types of hotels that would prefer a CRS over a channel manager.
Yeah, this goes back to the same thing about thinking what your hotel needs, because most of these CRS systems nowadays bundle their internet booking engine along with everything else. And sometimes the most visible thing people look at is the internet booking engine. But you've really got to evaluate what you're doing and what you need. So some of the big players out there, StayNTouch, has intricate functionality that could be extremely valuable to a very busy urban city hotel that has a competitor sitting on every corner from them. They may need to come up with some really inventive ways to do their pricing and their restrictions and how they're distributing their inventory to different things at different times. That's something that you need a complex system for. But then another hotel, they might be more concerned with the customer support or what they're going to get or the pricing for that. Windsurfer is a much more personal experience, still has great functionality and still is a wonderful system that does a lot of really intricate things, but you're going to get a lot more personal care if you're just one hotel. So you've got to invest some time in looking at who you think is going to mold up with your hotel's missions. There are a lot of opportunities out here. We work with another company called Guest-Centric. Their entire CRS platform is basically tied into their digital theory, and their whole thing is we don't want to pay for digital ads to do conversions. We want to do some things that are going to increase organically the number of direct bookings you're going to get. And they truly do have proof to sit there and show it. Now, can their system do some of the advanced things that a multi-brand, channel approach that StayNTouch can do? Probably not, but they'd be great, if this is your approach that you want to take. So invest in looking for this type of thing and think about what's important to you, because there's a lot of options in this area.
There certainly are. In stay, guest experience is key. So, OTAs sort of ruled the roost when it came to the pre-stay. Obviously, the in-stay or during stay period is the hotel's chance to shine. And really, while your guest is on property, you really want to focus on engaging with them. So, I'm a customer marketer. One of the big things about customer marketing is you have to continue to engage with your customers even after the sale. You always want to nurture that relationship so they come back to you later and they continue to sing your praises. It's really key, just like in the pre-stay period. So people are dreaming and planning all on their mobile phones, all on their mobile devices. So it's really important to focus your pre-stay strategy to have a mobile-first approach. And the same thing holds true in the during stay period or the in-stay period. Almost everybody has a mobile phone these days, and guests want to be met wherever they are. On a mobile device, obviously from a PMS standpoint, a mobile device allows you to have self check-in. It allows you to process requests from your mobile device, but there's other things that you can do as well, from streaming music to ordering room service, direct messaging, mobile concierge. The list goes on and on.
And this is probably where right now there's a lot of focus in the hospitality area. Hotels in general are all behind in this area. The consumers live their life through their phones. These are these ubiquitous devices that we carry with us every day. We want to be able to engage in our travel in the same manner. I don't want to pick up a phone to call my room service order. I want to get on my phone and I want to push a couple buttons about what I want. I want that burger, I want some iced tea, and then I want it delivered to my room. I don't need to pick up the hotel phone to do that. Hotels need to start thinking about these things. This is the expectation that the traveler has coming in, and in general, we're letting the customer down.
The other, benefit of mobility is just its ability to capture so much more data about the customer and their preferences. You really can't do that if someone's phoning, a room service order over a landline. The key to engaging your guests really is to create that personalized stay, to have that constant state of communication, and to be constantly nurturing your customer base. Customer Relationship Manager. This is a cloud-based software, and it stores vast amounts of customer data so that you can track your guest history and then sort of translate that into actionable insights. If you can create a personalized customer profile, you can then create customized messaging that will lead to greater upsell conversions. So again, different travelers are different. The parents traveling, with 4 kids are going to have different needs than the business traveler. They'll have different needs than, someone who's traveling for a wedding or a funeral. It's really important to have a robust picture of your guests on an individual level, so you can optimize your messaging and optimize your revenue. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that's good.
Awesome. In-stay direct messaging, right? So all of these are connected. You're building a really robust profile with your CRM, and then a direct messaging service allows you to sort of send customized messages, and also allows two-way communication between your guests and your staff. This allows seamless communication throughout the guest journey through SMS or messaging apps. I never pick up a landline. I don't own a landline. I don't know why I would want to use a landline in a hotel room. I'm much more comfortable either with text or with other messaging apps, Facebook Messenger, WeChat, Telegram, the list goes on. Again, the key is to reach your guests wherever they are, not force your guests to conform to outdated technology.
And I think one thing to note here is that this can be deployed in many different manners, in many different flavors, for many different price points. But it's super important for you to think about how you're successfully going to do this. Where I see hotels fall down is when a hotel says, great, we're going to get a text messaging service. They go out and they find somebody that can do it for $100 a month, and they say, okay, the front desk staff will get a message and they will respond to the guest. If you have a triggered message that says, welcome to our hotel, let me know if I can help you with anything, send me a message here, and you are now depending on the front desk staff to respond to any comments that come in there, the expectation that someone has when they respond to a text message like that is very different from someone that picks up the phone. You're expecting instantaneous communication. So if you want to have a programmed message like that, you better have AI built into the platform that you've chosen, so that if I sit there and say, I need towels, the AI chatbot comes back and says, how many towels do you need? And I said, I need 2. And it goes, great, we'll send some. All of that can happen with the AI platform without any human intervention. If I do that same thing without the AI, and I say, I need towels, and someone at the front desk gets that message, but they're talking to someone on the phone and the other person's talking to someone at the check-in, and I wait for a few minutes and a few more minutes go by, I'm gonna be like, is anybody even listening to this? I'm not gonna have any faith. So it's not always about the cost when it comes to this, it's about how you want to execute this. It's fine to have messaging if you have the right plan in place and you choose the right platform.
It's also really crucial to make sure that your automated messages are actually on point. There's a lot of instances, and this is more on social media than SMS, although I guess people can screen cap responses, where a customer went to a company's Facebook page, and they had this long, detailed complaint, that was legitimate. There was a legitimate snafu, and the response was just some automated, thank you for choosing, and the company wound up looking really bad. So it is important if you do get a direct messaging platform to include it in an overall strategy that takes into account that people do expect very quick and very relevant responses on your end. That being said, the response rate for text messages is almost 100%. So it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, and I think both, there's two companies that I highlight out here, give a shout out. A Go Moment Ivy, they're a platform does a nice job with customizing their AI, and so does another company called Amenity, spelled with an I, not a Y. But both of them, you're able to kind of help the program learn what to say and what to do. So even when somebody says, where's a drugstore near me, it could say there's a CVS, 3 blocks away, when you go out the hotel. Stuff like that you got to think about as you're doing it.
And that's a lot quicker than interacting with a live concierge. Property management system. Well, we know a little bit about this. This is the central platform that manages your entire property. This really connects to all of your other integrations, and really can serve as a central data repository for each of your guests. It deals with check-in, check-out, housekeeping, distribution, revenue management. All of this because you are in Rover every day. PMSs started as written ledger books, then they moved to spreadsheets, then they were automated in-house programs, and now they're migrating to the cloud. Again, it's really important. We keep hitting home the value of mobility, but that's because that's where the market is going in so many ways. In terms of guest convenience, in terms of the additional revenue you're going to get from late checkout, from upsells that have vibrant pictures of your room, from the cost-saving aspects of increased inter-staff communications, including the sort of enhanced guest experience of not having a housekeeping agent knock at their door at 6 a.m. The benefits of mobile PMSs are legion.
Yeah, and I'll mention here that at the very basis of everything that we're doing, it's important that you start thinking about this. One of the last hotels that I worked at, we used a system, let's just call it was 2 words, started with a V and the last word was 1. System was fine, but did not at all have any APIs to connect to, had no intention of mobility. I mean, they were excited when they said, hey, we can get this to run on a laptop and you could put that at the front desk. I'm like, well, that's not entirely how we're talking about mobile. I still have to have the laptop plugged into the wall and an HDMI cable and all this other things. So you got to think about, at the baseline of information exchange is the ability for you to build all these systems on top of it. So it's not easy to take a look at this, but sometimes you have to reassess what you have in place for your PMS, and is it the right piece for you to grow all these other technologies on top of.
This is another graphic by Skift. It just highlights the fact that the PMS sort of sits at the center of your technological ecosystem and serves as a central point for data collection. Those stay cards are really important. This is a quote from one of our clients, Aria. They see over 1,200 arrivals a day. They're able to capture almost 40% of those guests checking in through mobile. They can collect addresses, phone numbers, email addresses. So really there's a lot going through that stay card. That can be the foundation of other data that you can use, let's say in your CRM, to really build personalized guest profiles. Post-stay. We've mentioned this before. You want to turn your guests into online influencers. Every 1 point increase in Review Pro's Global Review Index, GRI, leads to almost 0.9% increase in ADR, 0.5% increase in occupancy, and then 1.42 increase in RevPAR. These are real numbers. It's really important to make sure that your guests enjoy their experience, and that if they enjoy their experience, that they tweet about it, that they go on social media. Conversely, if they have a bad experience, it's really important that you manage that so it doesn't go out of control and affect your occupancy down the road. Revenue management. This might be seen as actually part of the pre-stay, but it's one of those instances where the post-stay and the pre-stay kind of meld together. Revenue management programs allow you to figure out which segments are running a profit and which ones aren't. And the idea behind this is so that you can optimize your future rates as well as tailor specific discounts and loyalty programs. So again, this is sort of analyzing the future or the past, analyzing your historical performance to set your future rates and optimize your future booking. Tech stack best practices. Ryan, this is all you.
Yeah, so I think the big thing to remember is that, technology is not evaluated by the price that you're going to pay. Technology is evaluated by how it's going to fit into your hotel. What is it that's going to make your job easier or enhance the experience of your guests or fit in the characteristics of your property? When you go through and you look at the different pieces of technology out there, look for the ones that are going to match up best to your business needs. It is entirely dependent on how you run your operation as to what piece of technology you should buy. Don't always assume that the most expensive thing on the market is the best thing for your hotel. It might be, who knows, but you need to do some due diligence and you need to look through. At the same point in time, don't make the mistake of, grabbing the least expensive piece of thing and then having major problems with the implementation and the execution, and then it just becomes a major sore point and actually could harm your operation rather than making it better. So I think that the biggest takeaway from this is, making sure you're looking at it, thinking about how it integrates into the rest of your technology stack, and how are these systems going to work across each other for your teams to help them accomplish the goal. At the very end of the day, we're a very people-focused industry, and we need to make sure we're enabling our human capital, all of our employees, to do their jobs better. That's what technology should do. It should not take away from what they do. It should not make their job harder, and it should definitely not be a stumbling block for better guest service.
What is the difference between a $1,200 solution and a $25,000 solution?
Yeah, so there's, and I'll go back to revenue management systems, the last thing you just talked about. If you aren't even thinking about an RMS solution, you should know that a lot has changed since the beginning of the RMS applications back in the late 90s. And there's a lot of flavors out there right now. A hotel could go out, and a 100-room hotel could right now, nowadays, go out and buy a $25,000 RMS for their hotel. And it might be exactly what they need. However, they could also go out and they could find a very simple revenue management system that makes pricing recommendations based on one or two factors that will help them make the decision and update the rates for only $1,200 a year. And this is critical when it comes down to things like, hey, I'm a small operation hotel out in suburbia or even in a rural area, but it's a lot of labor for me to sit there every day and look at my rates and make those changes. You shouldn't have the approach that, well, I'm going to keep the rate of $250 a day for the next 3 months, and then I'll see how that goes. Obviously, rates are changed all the time, but it's a lot of work to go in there and change your rates every day. I used to do it. It's much easier if you have a system that looks at it and says, oh, last night you picked up this many rooms, and this is your budget, and this is how many rooms you picked up last year to get to there, and this is a recommended rate, and it comes up to it, and you say, okay, I agree. You push that button, and it updates that rate. That can be had for either $1,200 a year, or it can be had for $25,000 a year. Now, clearly, if you're, once again, an urban hotel, you've got a competitor over every corner. You need to measure about how your group bookings are doing versus your FITs versus your contract negotiated labors and your suites versus your superior rooms versus your deluxe. You need something that's going to do some complex calculations and start to take in things like hurdle rates, where you need an understanding of when do I close off certain things in order to make my budgetary goals. You might need to spend 25K.
Why are open APIs so crucial in any integration?
Yeah, as you go forward in this whole technology revolution in the hospitality industry, it's going to be necessary in the future to connect other systems. In the past, when we built out these systems, and I think about, you know, what happened with the advent of Windows, and you think when hotel management systems really started changing, you know, 98, when Windows 98 came out and all that stuff started getting that GUI interface, everybody's like, wow, and they started building things around them. None of those systems had any open APIs. As we evolved in the mid 2000s, and you're like, cool, here's something that could really help my guest operation. And then you're like, oh, there is no way for me to easily connect it. So now I have to go and hire a developer who has to tweak this entire platform, who then has to also look at the other platform, who has to make a middleware, who has to bring it together. So this one little piece of technology that I wanted to do becomes a 9-month project and is going to cost me $50,000. Not worth it.
And it's not just the software, it's also the data. You can have the best software in the world, but if it doesn't have access to these you know, nuanced, personalized guest profiles, then you're not going to get the full benefit.
Yeah, you have to be able to pass information back and forth between systems. You're going to collect information from one system, and you may need to pass it back to another system. And those APIs are going to help you do that. A perfect example is, you know, all of these guest-facing technologies right now, where you can check in or check out of your room. They have to exchange information with the app, with the PMS, with the payment gateway, and with the guest. And without being able to communicate across all those channels, it wouldn't be able to happen. That's why you have to have those open APIs to communicate these systems together.
Let's talk about different hotels, and then we will, or different types of hotels, and then we'll wrap it up with technology on the horizon. So you came up with 5 different types of, or sort of archetypes of different hotels, and could you talk about sort of what different challenges they face and what kind of tech stack should they focus on?
Yeah, I think that's, once again, goes back to the very beginning of what we said. You need to think about your hotel. So these are 5 basic types of hotels. There's a lot of different things out there. But if your hotel is primarily catering to leisure travelers, these are people spending their own hard-earned cash on a vacation. Their expectation of their experience is very different. So they're going to look at how you present yourself to them when they're in the property. In-stay technologies are going to be extremely important to these guests. How they're interacting with you and what your service looks like is super, super important. But then again, at the same point in time, that's important to everybody, right? Well, if it is, then when you spend your hard-earned dollars, don't you think more that your expectations are different than when you're spending the company dime? So think about that as you go through it. Busy city hotels, you're competing with a lot of people. You're competing to get people to book your hotel, and typically you have a lot of competitors helping you do that. This is going to be really important that you start thinking about that tech stack on that whole pre-stay. How am I positioning my hotel? What am I doing? How am I getting more eyeballs on me? How am I, doing my competitive edge? How am I presenting myself? What is my reputation management on that to get those people to come to me? So things that you're thinking about as you go through it.
I'd imagine rate management would be really important with the busy city hotels as well.
Extremely important.
There's so many.
You're gonna flux your rates and your length of stay controls and how you're opening and shutting rates in a busy city hotel more than any other property. Same can be said as you go through, and I'll skip around a little bit. Convention properties. This is a massive operation. You have large groups coming in and out all the time. you have to handle a lot of complexities with the inventories of what you have in, with what your foods are, with what your banquet staff does, with what the bell staff handles, with the rooms that move around, with the housekeeping departments. So sometimes these things have to be factored into what technologies help you run that property. On the flip side are these limited service hotels where you don't have the army of employees that you would have at this convention hotel. You're running on a lean staff. You need technologies that's going to help you run more efficiently. So how is this going to help you become more capable of achieving everybody's expectations with less staff? So this comes down to how do you go ahead and enhance what you're doing. This is where that AI chatbot might help to, sit there. Somebody could ask for towels and the computer could answer back and ask how many, and then it could actually make the assessment, say, okay, I need 2, and it could dispatch a note to some runner in the hotel that says this room needs towels. Then you don't need that one dedicated person answering the phone, that one dedicated person running these things. You could have this multi-use employee running around doing things, getting a message that says, oh, this room needs towels. And then I'm going to come back up, rural properties, because I think these are a special niche properties, because often, your rural properties are in a location that sometimes, is not always the chosen path of the masses. They're out there for different things. So when somebody comes and they visit you in this rural location, it may be because they're coming through, it might be because they're just coming to do something. It can be on their own dime, it could be on a company dime, but having an understanding of why that person came there and how you're marketing back out to them to see if they may come back might always be something very important to you. So see, as we look through and you think about it, you've got to think about your own hotel and how that works for you, and start thinking how you will build out your own technology stack. Really thinking about your business goals, your characteristics, the challenges and opportunities you are, and breaking out a sample of what you want to do, and then kind of going in that vertical a little bit as you put these things together.
So we'll close with what the future of hospitality technology holds. Do you have any words on?
Yeah, I see artificial intelligence becoming a very big help to hotels from a myriad of different things. You've heard me talk about clearly the text messaging and how that's going to come play into it. Think about call center applications that are already out there and these big IBM Watson things. I remember watching on Jeopardy when they had that whole game, and IBM Watson, he was able to build, it was able to beat all the former champions from Jeopardy and answer these questions in these formats. So this is going to be critical. And this also plays into revenue management strategies. It plays into CRM, all of those things that are going to come out of it.
Oh, well, in rate strategy, I think AI would be crucial.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It helps bring all that big data together, and it helps make better recommendations, and it can help execute on it.
Excellent. So I think you can also filter that in with voice assistants and the Internet of Things. The IoT, I think, would really hit on both sort of the guest experience, in the sense that, if you can, adjust the temperature in your room through voice activation, right? That's certainly a convenience factor, but it can also be a cost factor and an efficiency factor in terms of energy usage. We actually skipped over a slide about robotics. There's a hotel in Japan that is completely run by robots, and you're greeted by this concierge that's a velociraptor in a little bow tie and a little hotel bellman's cap. And it's kind of funny, once they learned how to open doors in Jurassic Park, they were fast-tracked into hospitality. Robotics can be hit or miss. It can be a little gimmicky. I know that the particular hotel in question had some operational difficulties with the different robots. They were a very early adopter, and they didn't iron out all of the kinks that they needed to. However, it can also be a wow factor. It can also be a marketing factor. One of our clients actually has a robotic arm that helps to get your baggage out of storage, and it's really to the delight of their guests. So the careful use of robotics could be could be a benefit.
Yeah, and I think that'll be an interesting thing as the robotics becomes a little more mature in the future. You got to think about how it can properly be interweaved with hospitality. Think about Royal Caribbean. If anybody hasn't seen that commercial, they have a robot arm, just a big arm that goes and it makes drinks at this bar, and that bar is always packed because people love to see it reach up and grab the cocktail, put it in the shaker, put the shaker top on and then shake it and then pour it perfectly into the drinks and then slide the drinks over. Like, it's a really cool kind of wow factor. But these are things that, as it goes on, we all look at how do we give the guests something unique and different.
So again, and it depends on what kind of hotel that you have. If you're a very busy business hotel, if you're like an airport Marriott, something along those lines, don't invest in the robot arm. Don't invest in the Velociraptor.
No, don't.
Go for something AI related. Go for something that's going to directly benefit your business clientele. With that, I will open the floor to questions, although it doesn't look like we have any questions. If you do want to ask us anything, if you have questions about any sorts of integrations, or if you have requests for future topics, feel free to email either of us. My email is jderise@stayintouch.com. Ryan's email is just simply ryan@stayintouch.com, and we will be happy to answer any of your questions. With that, thank you very much and have a great afternoon.